So this video is sponsored by Pionex, one of the exchanges I use all the time. It's one of the main crypto brokers to Binance, so the volume is very high. The main thing that sets them apart though is that you can use free trading bots, a variety all designed to benefit from different market behaviours, whether that's up, down or sideways. You'll get 20% off all your trading fees for life with my link in the description. And if you join the Telegram, a lot of us already use it, so if you've got questions we can try and help you out. Hello everybody, welcome back. Just a real quick video. So I've been scratching around in the dirt, looking for potential opportunities for buying bottoms. One of which, like I say, I'm not making calls. I'm certainly not making calls here. I'm not a financial advisor, you know that. But what I am actually looking at is a potential bottom form on ICP. So I've noticed this sort of just came out of nowhere, this coin, right? And I never really paid any attention to it. And I suppose there's a reason for that, is that it's basically just died. It's dying. But you know me, I like wrecked charts, to be honest with you. This chart isn't very old. Looking at it on a daily here, basically versus Bitcoin, not even a 200 exponential moving average on that one. Same old thing going on here with the daily versus tether. So I've put myself a very crude and rough fib retracement based on a weekly chart, and then we look at it on a daily chart. And basically it's the same old story. We're kind of in the old blood cellar. So what we would consider this to be is a giant accumulation zone, right? And when you're down in this area, you can stay down here for ages and you might not ever come out. So there is massive risk in here. And if we were to think about the range that we're playing in from the bottom to the top, we're talking a 160, 156% range. But if you were to be buying it, you know, at the top of that, you run the risk of going down 60% or potentially even more. So there's massive risk in obviously buying what would potentially be a bottom. I'm more interested in looking at it versus Bitcoin, because if we are entering a rotation even right now, or we will likely enter a rotation somewhere down the line, you know, I'll be not spending tether or anything like that. I'll be transferring some of my Bitcoin into certain opportunities, and this might be one of them. Now, it's not really appropriate to do the fib retracement at the moment, because essentially, you know, we are still probably even going to continue to make new lows. Just don't know. It's not really possible to say. Now, you can make an educated guess based on a few things. First of all, if we look at the daily, we are curling up ever so slightly. It's nothing massive. Curling up ever so slightly on the MACD. We are oversold on the RSI for what it's worth. I mean, things get oversold all the time. They can always go down lower. But we do have bullish divergence actually forming on the daily. Money flow index also quite low, but it can always go lower. The money flow index isn't the greatest at spotting lows, but I suppose for what it's worth on this chart, it kind of has spotted relative lows. So there is that. So there is some signs of maybe bottom, even if it's just a temporary bounce forming at this level, and in that respect, it's kind of. It's intriguing, it's tempting, it's definitely tempting. Go to a 4-hourly chart, we see the same old deal. We've got a bullish divergence form on the 4-hourly quite dramatically actually, and it could offer some upside on this one. Maybe push us up to this previous level of resistance, 900 sats, which is also where the 200 exponential is on the 4-hourly, which is where I would expect to see a rejection anyway. So this token, I've just you know, I'm not the fundamental sort of analysis. It's not my bag really, but I've looked into it and oh my God, it's scary. I mean, I don't really like the idea of it, but I mean, it seems to be backed by powerful, and it would definitely appeal to very powerful entities that could potentially push it through. Now, it doesn't mean anything about the price. I mean, I base everything around charts anyway. And in all fairness, I really don't like the sound of the project. It's like George Orwell's nightmare. But I mean, it is what it is. I mean, like I say, we're trading charts here, so it does, to me, you know, there are telltale signs that we could be at or approaching a potential bottom on Satoshi pair in here, so on the Bitcoin pair. And given what we're seeing with Bitcoin at the moment, maybe putting in a local top, just a local top, and maybe we'll consolidate from here and accumulate at a high level. This is perfectly normal and natural actually, and quite I welcome it, because on this run up I've been saying how bullish it really is, just floating above all these major moving averages, and even right now this pullback to most might feel aggressive, but we're still holding above the 7 simple moving average, which for me is still an opportunity to buy a dip on this. Now, I'm not suggesting you do anything like that, but it is. But we could meander around this level and still be extremely bullish. And again, you know, my videos a few days ago about the total market cap, including and excluding Bitcoin, both got extremely bullish signals on them, which means that the market overall does look primed to continue up for, and maybe even double in its market cap. You know, it could do that, given what we've seen on those charts. Which is good for Bitcoin. It will be also good for altcoins. And so when we look at certain charts, I like a rect chart because they do offer the most upside. If I were to take the risk on this one and it were to work out, even if it was just based on sats, we make our way up to the top of the resistance, I'll be doubling my Bitcoin that I put into this, and that you can't complain with, you know. But again, it is a massive risk because when you're trying to catch bottoms, you've got to there's a lot of faith that goes into it. And when we look at the state of this chart, I mean, it's wrecked beyond belief. And but again, you know, it is what it is. It's this is trading for you. You know, you do have to take some unnecessary risks. And again, this is a risk. If I were to do this, and I'm going to sleep on it and assess the market over the next few days, maybe into next week, to be honest with you, before I decide to pull the trigger on this one. But I'll definitely sleep on it before I make any rash decisions. But it does seem relatively appealing, even if it were for just the pump up to potentially 1600 sats. Which would be a good move for me. If I put one Bitcoin into this, I end up with 2 Bitcoins by the end of the trade. I'm not expecting this to do a full reversal, far from it. I mean, this was, you know, a lot of these, you know, when you see a chart like this with a ridiculous wick like that, it kind of breaks the chart, which is why when I did this retracement, I did not involve the wick. It was candle body to candle body. That wick does not count for anything, to be honest with you. But yeah, I just thought I'd bring it to your attention that this is, you know, at the moment I'm not really looking to get into any new coins or anything like that, especially something that's outside of my usual, because the best way I've always found to trade is to focus specifically on between 10 and 20 tokens really, and focus on them. But you know, because I do the live streams and Patreon live streams, basically, I do spend a lot of time, you know, with you guys looking through charts, and this one's never really come up, despite it being in what they say the top 10, definitely in the top 20 tokens for its market cap. But it's got one of the worst looking charts, I suppose. I suppose to the untrained eye, but there are signs of life at these, roughly at these levels. But again, let's not be fooled. The fib retracement that I put in here isn't really worth a great deal. The only thing that's really bullish on it specifically, and that's not really bullish, is the telltale signs that we could be approaching a low based on bullish divergence on the 4-hourly and on the daily. And even that is pretty weak. But you know, like I say, it's one of those things. You've got to take a risk, and for me, I'm generally unwilling to part with the Bitcoin that I've, you know, worked so hard over these last few years to accumulate. But then I guess, you know, sometimes you've got to take a risk. So I'm going to sleep on it, and I'll have a good think about this in the morning, and I'll continue to assess the market. But if we do look like we're going to get a rejection on the Bitcoin dominance at this level, which is currently getting a standard rejection from a 200 exponential, again still a strong steady uptrend, and as far as the weekly is concerned, pretty bullish on the weekly. We could be looking to retest this 44 to 45 or 44.5 to 45% area before we pick up, given the impression that we might be going into an alt season, but it would be short-lived. I'll be very interested to see how tokens behave during this period. Rather than trying to get in on it, I'd like to see how they behave during this period, and if we do catch a bounce and continue with the uptrend. Because if we were to do that, sats will continue to get drained, I would imagine, out of the majority of the market, and coins that look particularly wrecked, like the one we just looked at, will continue to be wrecked, and the Bitcoin position would be still a more appropriate position when you're looking at the market as an overview. That's still the best place to be when Bitcoin dominance continues, if it continues to go up, which to me would be anywhere between 50 and potentially 58 really percent dominance. So yeah, these are, you know, I look at things on weekly charts. That's the best way to make the biggest trades really. I'm not sitting around at my computer clicking buttons every day, But I do like to assess, charts. It's just, I suppose it's what I do. But really, the weekly charts tell the bigger picture, and at the moment, of course, weekly charts take ages to be generated. And over the last few weeks, when we made that decision, I say the we, I mean the me, not we, the royal we being me. When I made the decision to move into a larger Bitcoin position, it was based on weeklies, and you get a lot of heat when you make those calls. People say, "Oh, yeah, alts are gonna," of course, I'm bullish on alts as well, but the overall picture is to rebalance your portfolio in favour of which is going to be the more dominant asset. And generally, when Bitcoin dominance is increasing, it says that it's just a blanket overview, but Bitcoin dominance increasing, Bitcoin is going to be more dominant in the short term. But again, when we look at the daily chart, we could easily get a rejection from here. Anyway, I always talk about the Bitcoin dominance. I mean, you're probably sick of hearing about it, but we'll wait and see. If we get rejected from here and alts have a little rally, I want to see how ICP behaves during this period, and if we can reclaim this area, this 900 sats area, which again, people will watch this video and go, "You missed out, you could have bought the bottom, you missed out on 25% gains." And I'm like, well, yeah, no big deal. I'm not really looking for 25% gains. I'm really looking for 100% gains and maybe a little more. So if I'm looking for the confirmation really that I really want, then I'm happy to just sit back and wait and see how it goes. But for those with the balls, I suppose, who are willing to take risks, then why not try it, I suppose. But again, I'm no financial advisor, not financial advice, so I'll leave it with you there. It's just a little observation that I'm making, and wrestling with my own thoughts about buying what I think could be a bottom at this level, or maybe a little lower. Thanks for watching, guys. Hope you have a nice evening. Take it easy.